What's up? Salute, Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. Welcome in, quick late night live stream. Let's chop it up with the best chat in the biz. Lots of news come through today, and I look forward to the next hour or so chopping it up with you all live stream right now. Thanks for joining us. Replay squad, salute. Smash that like button. The streets are buzzing. We got some news, man, to talk about the NBA draft with the Knicks working out some prospects within our range. Also, talking to other teams about moving up to the teens, reports Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports. With the latest with OG Anunoby declining his player option. And at the top of the show, we're going to talk about Knicks draft and stash. Rokus Jokubaitis, man, putting on a show for Lithuania as they warm up for the Olympic qualification tournament as Lithuania beat Slovenia. And let's chop it up, fam. Salute, Knicks Nation. We've got Lily Phillips in the building. What's up? Salute, Darren, Daniel, and Knicks Nation out here. Looking forward to this week. Man, it's going to be a big one, man. If today's anything to go by, man, the streets are really buzzing right now. And this is going to be a huge off-season, man. I really feel like the Knicks are poised to do something big, right? After today, a storm is brewing, right? And I feel like, you know, with the OG Anunoby situation, the Knicks will have backup plans. I fully expect OG to come back. But if he doesn't, that's obviously going to free up a lot of space, right? And the Knicks will have plan B, plan C, and all of that. And obviously it kicks off at the draft, man, as the Knicks have discussed some, scenarios to move up to the teens, man. Looking at specifically the Lakers, I think at pick 17, but we'll get into that in a second. Bricks Nation, what's up? Fam, salute. Just to bring everyone up to speed with Rokus, Knicks draft and stash, we know. We'll talk about it a little bit more later in the show, but right now he, played today as Lithuania beat Luka less Slovenia. Luka just arrived. Obviously, he's just recovering off the NBA Finals, so Slovenia did not have Luka. But our guy, Rokus Jokubaitis, right, leading his country as the starting point guard, put on a show. In this game, you see him absolutely killing the dude, crossing him up, getting to the cup as well, and pulling up with the J. The lucky lefty, look at this, finishes in contact and won. And Lithuania won 92-86, right? He showcased his mid-range J as well. Rokus can shoot. He's an excellent playmaker in the pick and roll, but as you see, he can just pull up off the dribble there as he nails the mid-range as well. The box scores weren't visible because it's an exhibition, but Rokus looks every bit the part that I think could be that backup point guard for the New York Knicks, as we're going to talk about the draft a bit more later. All the names in the second round, these college point guards, some of them have a bright future, but I think if the Knicks are really looking to solidify a backup playmaker, right? We need someone a bit more experienced. And Rokus ticks that box, right, from the get-go. Obviously, they want to be a little bit more patient and draft a point guard. I'll still get behind them. But I think, this guy is staring us in the face, right? And I think there's a big chance that he's going to come into training camp, right? Right now, he's putting in reps for his country, right, to qualify for the Olympics. But what are you guys' thoughts on Rokus Jokubaitis, right? There is a real Rokus hive as well. There's some people that don't really care much because they haven't really seen him, in action. I get it. He's been a figment of people's imagination for a few years now. But here's the deal, guys. He's been playing pro for 4 years. I'll give you the quick sales pitch. He won a championship 2 years ago. He's been through the fire in the EuroLeague with Barcelona. Now he's ready. He wants to make that trek to the NBA. And I think the Knicks have that second round salary slot that they can fit him in. And his skill set specifically, he's an excellent pick and roll playmaker. He's a left-handed guard, 6'4", good size, and he's a good shooter as well. And we're going to see a lot more of him. Slovenia will play Lithuania once again tomorrow as well. So this is a first of a couple of exhibition warm-ups before the real Olympic tournament kicks off as well. But how can you not look at something like this and say, he could help us a little bit, off the bench. He could be a little TJ McConnell, maybe with some, experience. He can play make. He could come off the pine and give us a change of pace as well. And of course, his experience. Like I said, he's tough too. Bricks Nation said Rokus coming for that NBA money. Best believe that. He's served his dues in Europe now. He's ready for the bigger stage. Allah Wise Peace, been waiting for Rokus to play here since Deuce and IQ in Summer League. Yeah, the Summer League OGs, fam. That was fun times. And I hope, he can maybe pair up with Deuce and be that, backcourt running mate, off the bench as well. And look, he's going to be able to play in the Olympics, assuming they qualify. They got Sabonis as well with the squad as well. So imagine some Rokus Sabonis pick and roll. We're going to get to see that before the Olympics, and then they should get through. They've got to beat Mexico, and they've got to beat Ivory Coast, and they will get to the Olympics as well. A lot more eyes are going to be on Rokus as well. I haven't really seen many people drop this news today, right? Obviously, there was a lot more draft and trade news, which we're about to hit. But yeah, for the Knicks family, Knicks community, I thought I'd bring this out here so that people know that Rokus is doing some things. And I think we're going to see a lot more of him, right? With him, looking to make the trek over as well. Obviously, the Knicks, it's going to be a huge week, right? We're talking about backup point guards in the draft, but I think this guy is central. If the Knicks are looking at point guards, obviously we have his rights, and he's a pro, 4 years experience now, right? If it's Tibbs and he's looking at Rokus, a guy who's been pro, and these collegiate point guards, which might need a little more seasoning in the G League, who, you don't know if you can trust in the playoffs. We're competing right now. I see people talking about John Wall. I don't want to go that far. I don't want to go to the retired, guys that, have been out of action for a minute. It's tough, right? It's time. It's a young man's game, and it's time to turn up to some of these, younger legs as well. What's up, coach in the building? Trade up for Kalel Ware. Yep, we're going to hit on that next. Best believe that. As we look at the next bit of big news came through today. Yahoo Sports Jake Fisher. The Knicks and Utah are among two teams that have that have made advances about combining both of their picks in the first round. One first round pick and one second round pick to slide up into the teams in this draft, according to rival executives. So that's, I take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, because, there's always reports that the Knicks are looking to trade up. But this is a lot more believable because, we're not trying to trade up into the lottery. It's about getting into maybe 17, maybe 19. And we'll see, we'll talk about Ryan Dunn tonight. We'll talk about Kalel Ware and Jonathan Mogbo. Three pivotal names that the Knicks have worked out and I think would fit, right? Kalel Ware, I'm a big fan. I think, the Knicks have finally worked him out. According to Ian Begley today, we finally got word that the Knicks have worked out Kalel Ware now. So that dropped from Ian Begley's story, coach, 2 hours ago. They also worked out Akron's Enrique Freeman, who's a sleeper, who's starting to get serious buzz right now as a wing. Kalel Ware as well, a guy from Indiana. We know Coach Woody is there in that situation, and I think the Knicks will have a lot more intel on Kalel Ware, and now that they've worked him out late. Something I read into, Ian Begley also, I don't know if he just worked out today, but yeah, Ian hasn't reported that Kalel Ware worked out prior to today. So it was something that happened very recently, and he dropped his name, right? Maybe there was a little bit of an embargo. For those of you that don't know, the Knicks do work out players a few days ahead of schedule, and they tell the media, but they also tell them that, sometimes that, not to reveal it until the workout's finished as well. Today we're going to go through my big board as well. As of today, I've ranked my prospects 1 through 45 too, and we have confirmation from the Hoops Height workouts now. Jonathan Mogbo is added, AJ Mitchell. We obviously have Tyler Smith there as well, and Ryan Dunn, Baylor Shireman too. There's a lot more buzz now that Ryan Dunn is starting to move up, right? ESPN dropped a story today talking that the Phoenix Suns are seriously considering him at 22. And they've got him in their latest mock as well. And he's been killing the workouts, Ryan Dunn apparently, and he's gaining steam to climb up the board now. So that may be a reason why the Knicks might need to look at trading up to get their guy, or one of their guys as well. Might be another guy as well, Khalil Ware, Zach Edey. Maybe they're a little worried that someone might not be there at 24 as well. As we know, the Knicks love to get their guy, right, as well. And last but not least, man, OG Anunoby, as expected, has officially declined his player option as well. Rival fan base is going crazy, thinking that he's going to leave. I don't see it happening. I think OG will stay, but it's going to be very, very expensive on that note, guys. So that's where it's at from today, man. A whole heap of news. Let's get through some questions, and yeah, we'll go through each thing one by one. But yeah, I'm pretty hyped to see Rokus perform, and actually just see him play a little bit. Some nice highlights as well. Nothing to get too carried away over as well about, but I'm just looking at, like, if the Knicks are identifying somebody in the second round as a point guard. Let's say we've got our big and our wing early, and let's say we're looking at a point guard in the second round, right? I would favor Rokus over any of these collegiate point guards, just because I think he's way more ready. Lily says, if you had one pick, a prospect, what would it be for you? Just one. That's tough, because I think there's a couple of guys that I really want to grab, and I'll pull up my board now. So as of today, I really feel like some guys climbing. A Bub Carrington, right? He's ranked now 12 on my big board. AJ Johnson, who I think is a project, but he's going to pan out. But I think Zach Edey could go a lot higher. But I think there's some question marks over Edey's, translation to the NBA. He's slow, half court. He didn't score a single, fast break bucket. It's going to be a case of playing to his strengths. But yeah, if I had to take one pick right now, and it's sort of more of a realistic pick, it would definitely be Jalen Tyson or Ryan Dunn. I think after today's news, it's sort of making me, look at Ryan Dunn, as more of a safer bet. Other teams are starting to really, rate him a lot higher because of the defense, and people cautiously optimistic that he can work on his offensive, side of things. All that takes is a lot of hard work, but a lot of jump shot, a lot of practice, and I think Ryan Dunn could be very impactful in the NBA, and I think at 24, I think that's really safe. I think the Knicks should not overthink it. We tried to overthink it with Mikal Bridges. I thought that was a really safe pick back in the day, but we overthought it. We took Kevin Knox. So, but yeah, Jalen Tyson, Ryan Dunn, I think would be safer picks. If the Knicks got to trade up, I could see it maybe being for a Zach Edey or a Deron Holmes as well. They're two of my higher preferred big men, but I'm still willing to give Khalil Ware, that shake as well if we do get two picks as well. Because, we're hearing the talk about Mitchell Robinson and the uncertainty over that. maybe trading him for to the Wizards, maybe getting a wing, maybe another player. Obviously, Isaiah, I think, will be back, but there's some concerns over the big man depth, and I definitely feel like the Knicks should take a big, right? And I think there's some bigs that offer different things that we haven't seen on the New York Knicks for a minute, right? Deron Holmes has the potential to be a really good two-way big. Zach Edey can provide, a little bit more offense than Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah, especially if he develops a jump shot. Khalil Ware has that jump shot already. Some questions over his motor, but I think all good names that the Knicks would, have something to work with, and give us a different look. Because with Jericho, with Isaiah, and with Mitch, right, we are lacking some floor spacing, and a player with some touch around the basket, as well, that can do some things. I really do feel like the Knicks should take a big with one pick and take a wing with the other pick in the first round. The second round, it's literally, there's so many names I like, as you see on this big board, and I feel like if the Knicks are looking at maybe Jonathan Mogbo, maybe AJ Mitchell, who I think the Knicks would really like. I think Kevin McCullough as well is a name that's been talked about as the Knicks being big fans of as well. But of course, if they are looking to use a pick on a point guard, I would prefer Rokus. I think he's far more ready. But if they do want to, be patient on a guy like a Tyler Kolek, maybe a Jamal Shed, Tristan Newton, the point guard from St. John's, I think, maybe those guys could fit in Westchester and develop a little bit, just like Deuce. The Knicks were able to do that with Deuce, and we'll see. But yeah, with today's news, with Rokus playing well for his country, and I think the time is right. The time is now, to bring him across if he's obviously able to meet with the contractual, situation, right? The Knicks will be able to offer Rokus the second round pick exception, which is going to be about $2 million. And I think as long as he can get what I heard from Europe is, as long as he can get a contract within the range of like 15 mil over 3 years, something like that is enticing enough for, I think, to come over, and the only reason I don't see Rokus coming over is if, I guess, he's traded, or the Knicks just don't want to spend that extra bit of money, right, to get a guy. But he'll be cheaper than a veteran, in my opinion, and he's still young as well. Darren says Edey's Canadian. He is, and he's also in the Olympic squad for Canada. And look, Edey, you don't teach size. He is a bit of a dinosaur, but he has the ability to be super impactful on the glass, and just be a force, draw fouls, and be a pick and roll threat with Jalen Brunson. Brick says Nick's going to have to trade up for Ware he's not fallen past 17. Yep. I could see Ware going before 24, absolutely. And I think that's why the Knicks have looked at, this situation today. Reporting Jake Fisher, Yahoo Sports, man. The Knicks and the Jazz have made advances about combining the final first round pick and a second round pick in order to move up, right? So, as I said, with the Knicks, they're always prepared, man. There's plan A, plan B, plan C, and all of those things. There'll be a plan if OG Anunoby walks, even though it's not likely. You just have to. You have to do your due diligence, There's a plan for if they trade Mitch. There's a plan for, probably 5 different guys on the board that they can take. And I think it's going to be a busy day, man. I'm confident that the Knicks will be able to get some of their guys. As for the Paul George rumors, and I guess that situation is up in the air because, he has to opt in. If he walks as a free agent, obviously the Knicks will have to, find a way to clear some space. But reporting Mark Stein says that the Knicks are a team to look out for as well if Paul George was to opt in. And I think we're going to hear something on that maybe tomorrow, right? Because, the clock is ticking on that date, right? And he might be traded before draft night. Now, let me know your thoughts on Paul George in terms of the window. It would be a very short window. Paul George, the player, I think could help us definitely for a couple of years. You know, I would prefer, to keep OG, see what else is out there, and just continue to back up the squad with depth. See, with Paul George, he's still inconsistent. There is some durability concerns as well. But it's not the worst name, that's for sure, man. I definitely want Paul George over a Cat. You know, probably over a DeJounte Murray as well because of the extra size. I think he complements Brunson and Randall as well. If Randall's still, on the roster, I think, he obviously adds the floor spacing. DeJounte Murray doesn't shoot the three ball as well, right? So when you're looking at, archetype, Paul George is like the perfect fit, but the age, the durability is the concern right now. But yeah, I expect the Knicks to get really busy and trying to improve this squad right now. I love Deron Holmes. I think he would be a perfect two-way big that the Knicks could have had. If they thought Obi was going to be that power forward for the New York Knicks from Dayton, Deron Holmes brings a more well-rounded game, very versatile. Baylor Shireman is one of the best shooters in this class as well. Not as athletic, but can offer some playmaking, ball handling, and the incredible shooting, right? He shot, like James Barlow let us know, he shot 81 threes out of 100 in a Boston workout recently. He's climbing up people's boards as well. But all of this means that somebody has to slip. You keep hearing all this smoke that people are going to keep rising, but somebody has to fall, right? So who's those names that I'm hearing, right? Kyle Filipowski, right? He was once, well, most of the year was in the lottery range. From what I'm hearing, Kyle Filipowski, and what I feel is, he's going to be a person who might fall, right? And he might fall beyond, the Knicks range, right? The Knicks might have that decision to make on a Kyle Filipowski, right? Comparisons to, for his game is like a Frank Kaminsky. I've heard people say a poor man's Nikola Vucevic. Not as good at the three-point shot. Questions over his sort of toughness, ability to bang. But he's a big man that can do some things. He's got some offensive skill sets. Does Kyle Filipowski. He's good at a few things, not great at one thing. But look, if he's there 24-25, I think the Knicks might look at him. I think Johnny Furphy will be too much of a development for the Knicks. He might be gone as well. But yes, somebody has to fall, right? But I don't think Shireman will be there. I think Ryan Dunn most likely will be there. If Phoenix don't take him. Bob Carrington definitely won't fall out of the lottery from what we're hearing right now, too. El Tango, what's up? What's happening with Isaiah Crawford? I think he'll be good for the Knicks in case Ryan Dunn isn't available. Yep, he'll definitely be there on the board. I haven't heard of Isaiah Crawford work out for the Knicks, so that's something to look out for as well. I think the Knicks could have worked him out, and maybe it just hasn't come out and into the public. The Knicks do like to keep things in house. Like I said, they'll work out plenty of guys, and then they'll the media will not reveal it until the workout's finished at a later date. But yeah, Isaiah Crawford's game would fit. There is that injury concern from some teams. He's had 2 ACL injuries, for those that don't know, so that could be part of the reason why Crawford's name is sort of slipping a little. But in terms of his game, yeah, he reminds you of a Kawhi Leonard, OG Anunoby. He's an older prospect, 24, I believe, 23, 24, but ready-made. Shoots the three ball really well, 39% from three. 6'6", but with a 7'1" wingspan, huge shoulders, can guard. Yeah, he'll be able to guard 1 through 5 in the NBA, which will appeal to the New York Knicks. If he's there at 38, I could see the Knicks taking him. As I said last night to James, who did mock Crawford to the Knicks in the first round, I don't think that the Knicks would take that swing on Crawford in the first round. I think there's other names that the Knicks would prefer to take, like a Tyson, a Ware, a Shyman, a Ryan Dunn, as well. Maybe we do save him for the second round, as well as maybe Kentucky's Justin Edwards as well. But yeah, today the Knicks have worked out Jonathan Mogbo as well, his comp is kind of like Kenneth Faried. He's an energy big, 6'7", can really handle the ball, right? He's got really good handles for a power forward as well. He can get to the rack. Questions over his shot. That's where his range is really wide, because some people don't feel Jonathan Mogbo will be that effective until the shot can be consistent. But other people are super high on him as well, and I'm hearing that some people have smashed workouts and some people have obviously had some bad workouts as well. So another reason to your point about Crawford as well is, see, Crawford, he hasn't been able to really get into these group workouts from what I'm hearing. Maybe some prospects are a bit more hesitant getting into group workouts with a guy like Isaiah Crawford, because it can damage your stock. You see, Crawford can come in here and lock you up. He's a dog defensively. And if he starts to lock up some guys in group workouts, and their stock is going to fall as well. So that could be another reason why Crawford's stock hasn't been rising as much, because he's not been able to do these group workouts with people. J-Dub says, I think we must keep in mind, I think Isaiah Collier might slip, and we should pick him. Deron Holmes and Zach Edey would be a home run. Yeah. I think either or, those two bigs with Khalil Ware. I think I'm not as high on Tyler Smith, and I'm not as high on Eves Missy. Those guys are more second round guys for me. But if the Knicks can get Deron Holmes, Edey, or Khalil Ware, I'd be pretty happy. I'd be pretty happy with that. And J-Dub says Paul George doesn't fit our timeline. He's injury prone as well. It'd be tough, man, because the window would be real small. But it'd be a big upgrade. I'm not here to say that Paul George isn't an upgrade. It is. It's just I want our window to be a big window, to contend and compete and get younger as well. We saw in the postseason, you got to win 16 games after 82 game season, right? Let's say we get there all over again. We make moves to get Paul George, and then there's health concerns again, or there's guys physically just not able to be at their best, right? I think we need to get young. Also reporting, Jake Fisher, is that the Knicks have checked in with Brooklyn, as well as many teams, over Mikal Bridges, right? A guy who's younger. We know the Villanova connections. Mikal Bridges is somebody who obviously fits the timeline a lot better than a Paul George as well. Not the same player. Not as good offensively, of course. I think just as good defensively, maybe better. But a real compliment, I think, to this current roster as well, just like OG is as well. Michael Drake says, CT, we must get Ryan Dunn. Talk is that, we might need to move up. We'll wait and see, fam. But the Knicks will have their contingencies to either move up, move back, or to stick as well. Jason says, Knicks need to look at Dunn, but Justin Edwards, Hunter Dickinson as well. Maybe trade Randall for a Jaren Jackson, Marcus Smart, or Mitch for Mo Wagner. Re-sign everybody back. Appreciate you, Jason, and everyone in the chat rocking out with us. A lot of things are in play, man. I think the Knicks have checked in with Memphis. We've heard that. The Knicks have checked in on Marcus Smart. Jaren Jackson Jr. With that said, there's been some connections to Jaren Jackson. The Knicks have been fans of his for a couple of years now. So I'm not surprised to hear that buzz. I think watch out for Utah, man. Utah got to do some things. They've got some free agents, Sexton, Lowry Markkanen, Taylor Horton Tucker. They're trying to move on from John Collins again. So yeah, Utah is going to get busy, as well as reporting Jake. Utah's one of those teams that's trying to move up, maybe, and make some things happen, right? So if we look at the order, the Knicks, obviously, currently Tankathon has Zach Edey going at 17 to the Lakers, right? With Anthony Davis there, I don't buy that. I don't buy that the Lakers would prioritize a Zach Edey. I think a guy for LA, if the Knicks can get into that 17 spot and we give LA 20, 25 and 38, I think that gives the Lakers a bit more flexibility to get two players. And there isn't too much of a drop-off, right? Right. If a guy like Bud Carrington is still there at 17, then I don't think the Lakers should move off of that pick. They should take Bud Carrington. But he might be gone before 17, right? Keyshawn George, I think, a little bit longer in the timeline, but for the Lakers, that could be something where they do want to trade back, right? With Anthony Davis, I know there's the age, but I just can't see the Zach Edey fit, me personally. But I do like the fact that, the Knicks have that opportunity to maybe get into the teens, and get the guy that they need. Michael says, do you think we can get Dunn and Edey? Tell us if we pull that off. Will Tibbs play them? They will. He will. Yeah, those are two of the more ready-made guys in this draft, Michael. No doubt about it. Zach Edey, Ryan Dunn will get some NBA minutes, right? Might be a little sporadic, but they will get some minutes, right? Zach Edey, obviously 7'6", 7'4", something of that range. He rebounds at elite level, obviously. He's a post presence, pick and roll. He will definitely get some minutes off the bench. And Ryan Dunn, I think, could definitely, be a backup that, provides defense at the 2, 3, 4 spots. We're guarding 2, 3, 4s as well. But a lot's been made about his offense, and it definitely is a glaring weakness of his game. But I've always said, like, if you can do one thing great, right, you can find ways to get on the NBA floor as well. If you only do a couple things at a solid level, that doesn't guarantee you to get minutes. But if you can do one thing that's great, usually, in situational, ways that the coach will try to get you in there as well. And I think it all depends on how the roster looks like. But the fact that Ryan Dunn is, he's killing workouts, he's swarming, guys defensively, he's a rim protector as well. He's very versatile at the 3, 4, 5 spots as well. And that's what the Knicks need more of, positional versatility. Right. I mean, you mean to tell me that Jericho Sims can still find his way on the NBA floor in the playoffs? Then definitely Ryan Dunn will be able to find some minutes as well and be more effective defensively as well. I mean, he rebounds, can protect the rim better than Jericho. So I think that is a pretty good example of like why the offensive thing is kind of a little overblown, right? Obviously, for him to be an NBA starter and to be, a 30-minute per night guy, he does need to work on his offense, and the shot. But at the very least, I could see him getting, 8 to 12 minutes, and being a running mate for the bench, coming in and locking down, right? AT says, I also like Melvin Ajinça for the Knicks. He's a beast, and I would fit our defensive culture as well. I'm a fan of Ajinça, but yeah, his range, we'll see where it's at. I think the Knicks, I would love us to take like 3, 4 guys in this draft. I just don't know if they're gonna go that route. Roster spot, salary, those kinds of things. But right now, from what I'm hearing, I feel confident that the Knicks are going to get 2 prospects at least, right? As we said, we might trade 25 and 38 to move up into the teens, and then we get to keep our 24 pick as well. So, I like the sounds of that. It could end up being like a Khalil Ware, and a Tyson, or an Edie and a Ryan Dunn. And then maybe if we can find a way to maybe buy a pick later in the second round, if a guy is really there that we like a Jonathan Mogbo. Ease Missy might slip. We'll see, There's going to be some guys in that 40 range where you're like, man, how the hell is that guy still on the board? And some of those guys could be, Kyle Filipowski. It might be a Justin Edwards, Keyshawn George, Terrence Shannon Jr. Somebody has to slip, and it happens every single year as well. Mars says Jericho Sims. What's up, Dirty Dancer in the building? Dunn is just not an ambitious pick at all. He's the definition of situational. Yeah, I know you're not as high on Dunn because of the offense. That is the concern. I just look, anyone that takes Dunn, they're backing him, and they're backing their development staff, to boost that side of his game and work on that upside as well. I still feel like a guy deserves, depending on what's happening in the workouts, maybe his defense is just so tantalizing that it's just turning people on. But if you look at, let's say, I'm a big example guy. Let's look at our own Deuce McBride. 2 years ago, who, hand on their heart, would have said that Deuce McBride is a real offensive threat? None of us would have sat here and said, maybe some real glued in, loyal Knicks fans, but I certainly didn't feel like Deuce McBride was going to be a lights out shooter and a real offensive threat to space the floor out. And here we are. Obviously he's more advanced than Ryan Dunn at that stage, but he put in the work, and if you really work on your craft, then I think, you can maybe get it to a serviceable level. It's possible, Is it likely? Probably not. But yeah, situational. I think the Knicks might be more comfortable with that, See, the Knicks, one part of their thinking might be, guys, is like they've missed out on a couple of drafts. They flamed out on the Trevor Keels sort of upside swing. We know what happened with Kevin Knox. We know what happened with Obi Toppin. The Knicks just tried to, swing a little bit and get too risky. What they might be thinking now is like, hey guys, we haven't picked in a minute. We only have maybe 1 or 2 shots to get it right. Let's just take somebody with a lower floor, a higher floor, lower ceiling, and just make sure that it's safe. Make sure that when this sort of situation plays out, we can rely on their defense for 15 minutes. Or, hey, if we need a bucket from 3, Baylor Shireman, we know he's a lights out 3-point shooter. We can't go wrong. That just might be where it's at. We're not a Detroit. We're not in a situation like Utah where we have oodles of time, to let these guys, work on their craft and expect results early. I would love us to take an upside swing later, maybe in the draft, whether it is a Mobo, maybe it is a Chomchi. Somebody has to get busy in Westchester and, be a future kind of situation. But I think with the first round, we're definitely going to be, a bit more safe this time around, I feel. good point about Deuce. Yeah, Deuce was definitely way more advanced offensively, but I just think he's got to where he's got because of the development as well. And look, Ryan Dunn probably won't ever be the shooter Deuce is. Will most likely never be that. But if he can get it to a 36%, we still find ways to keep Josh Hart on the floor. That's another good example. Josh Hart, 2 years ago, was tough to play in certain situations. We still got by because of his outstanding rebounding and his defense as well. But as you see on the graph, like Ryan Dunn isn't the highest prospect to me, right? Obviously, the defense is unbelievable, but there's other guys that I would still prefer the Knicks to take, but I still feel like he's a safe pick. Really like Bobby Clintman, someone I've interviewed, seen him up close in person, 6'10", moves really fluid. The 3-point shot has upside and big wingspan. I think he's going to be a real steal. So yeah, the guys in green are my guys that I'm a bit higher on. And I think Edey will be solid in the NBA. I just feel like you just know when a player has got that touch around the basket. Fit though is going to be the biggest thing about Zach Edey, right? Wherever he goes, you like I said earlier, you have to kind of cater your game when he's on the floor to him, right? There's no point having him on the floor if you're going to try to run up and down. That's not going to help the case. If you got Zach Edey, you must have a good floor general, and you must have a team willing to share the rock, right? And really, push the defense around, try to find the mismatch, get some shooters around Edey as well. Hopefully, he can back somebody down and get the switch down in the post as well. But yeah, in terms of the workouts, like the Knicks have, reported the Ryan Dunn workout really early. So that was a while back. Now, if he's starting to work out for more teams and dominate workouts, that could be where the stock is rising, right? Baylor Shireman, we know his stock is rising as well. Tyler Smith is more of that riddle right now. He could go anywhere from 20 to 40, I think, as well. It just depends on team selection and fit. AJ Mitchell, I think, will be a late first, maybe early second. He'll be around there when the Knicks pick as well. Now, the Knicks have worked him out. There was a great film breakdown with Sam Vecini and AJ as well. That's good to hear from him. And yeah, like I said about the point guard situation and later in the second round, maybe relating to Tristan Newton, Kashad Johnson, Jamal Shed. I really feel like, there's some guys out there that Tibbs might really be a fan of and say, hey, go get me this guy in the second round. But when it pertains to guys who can help us right now, we have a ready-made point guard who's starting for his country, playing in big games in Europe, can come in as a pro, play make, take the point guard duties, coming off the bench together with Deuce McBride, backing up Brunson. So yeah, my list of priorities for this week, right? And this is excluding trades and things like that because we don't know what's going to happen with Bogey, OG, Paul George kind of situation. But the situation that we can control, my priority is to obviously get a wing and a big, and then with a free agency or a veteran signing with the mid-level, try to address a playmaking guard as well. And I think Rokus ticks that box for me because he brings that experience and in his game is just solid, right? He doesn't have the highest upside, right? He's not gonna come on and be super athletic. But what he is he's really good ball handler, makes plays and can shoot the rock, right? He's a real 3-point threat, off the dribble. And here you see he's a real threat to get to the rack as well. He's got good physical, good physical size profile for a point guard, right? He's ready-made, doesn't need to get into the weight room like maybe some of these collegiate athletes do to run the point for the Knicks. And yeah, we don't want to gas out Brunson, right? When it comes to having, playmakers in the playoffs, you can't have enough, right? Look at Boston. Every single one can put the ball on the floor. Derek White, Drew Holiday, the two JBs, the two Js, JB and JT. Al Horford can put the ball on the cup as well. The biggest takeaway I took, man, from the playoffs and the finals is that stack up as many playmakers and as many shooters as possible, right? Teams that play 5 out and 5 guys that can put the ball on the floor, and it's a clear advantage in this current NBA for me. What's up, Ronald? How likely is that Rokus right to trade it away to acquire another player in place of or in addition to trading away Deuce? Look, the biggest hurdle for Rokus coming is the money, I feel. The money and the Knicks need or want to get him in. There'll be negotiations. I think it's just as likely that he will get traded as it is that the Knicks get him. But the Knicks drafted him, and there's still got to be fans in the organization. There's still Tibbs here. The regime that drafted when Deuce and Rokus was here, a lot of those guys are still here. So I think that it is more likely that Rokus comes to the Knicks versus getting traded slightly. But I do think that both things are on the table, right? But I do think Deuce isn't going anywhere. I really do think Deuce is a part of the future now. The contract's really good. I just think like versus a college point guard in the second round versus Rokus, I think the Knicks would lean towards Rokus at the moment because Tibbs we know is going to need that experienced guy off the bench, the point guard. Woodside also says that Rokus been playing against grown men too, fam, and he knows how it is to win. He won the chip 2 years ago with Barcelona in the Euro League as well. And like I said, he's competing in the Olympics right now as well. That's going to be cool to see. Obviously, we've got to wait to see the Olympic pool. But imagine if USA end up playing against Lithuania, right? We'll get to see Tyrese Halliburton, for example, up against Rokas, right? That's before the Knicks got to make a decision on training camp. So that could really accelerate things as well, guys. Let's say Rokus continues to ball out. I think that's just going to help the case. As I said earlier, top of the show, Lithuania will play Slovenia again on the 26th, which is basically tomorrow, basically another day's time. That's another exhibition game. I think Luka is going to play in that next game, from what I heard. And obviously, Lithuania have Sabonis, who I think is going to play in the next game as well, or in the Olympics too. As we have confirmation of the squad, it was announced today for Lithuania, and there you see Rokus, the first name. He's the starting point guard. Former Knick, Mindaugas Kuzminskas. You remember him? Phil Jackson signing Kuzminskas, the 6'7" wing, or 6'9" wing. And then, Domantas Sabonis, all-star, Dontas Moniunas, and Valanciunas is out due to injury, from what I heard as well. He might make the Olympics, I think. We'll see. But this is for the pre-Olympic qualification. We've got Sabonis there as well, so we're going to end up seeing some pick and roll between those two as well. But the upside is there for Rokus, the shooting and the playmaking ability as well. And we're going to get to see a lot more of him, which is a good thing. and that's not to say that I'm not high on some of these college point guards. I think if the Knicks do look at a Jamal Shed, the defense outstanding. The St. John's point guard as well. I think they've worked him out. Yes, Dennis Jenkins. I'm hearing good things about Dennis Jenkins. Rafael Barlow, NBA big board, and James are big fans. Obviously Patino has hyped him up as well. I just don't see Tibbs and a rookie point guard. You know what I mean? A fringe rookie point guard. I'm not talking about Derrick Rose coming in. I'm talking about a more unheralded dude coming in, right? We've already got Deuce. If the Knicks do bring in a third point guard, it'll be a veteran. It'll be a guy more experienced. Maybe Tyus Jones. Maybe a Colin Sexton. Or maybe they look at Rokas as that dude. And I think he's got a great opportunity to make a case for him, to make the squad. But yeah, as I said to Ronald, the biggest hurdle is money, I think, because Rokas is in his element. He's playing close to his country. He's a pro. He's earning good bread. For him to come all the way over, he needs a role and he needs to make good bread for his family, I think. So I think that's going to be very interesting to see. Michael says, I wouldn't trade away Rokus. And AT says, CT, I really think Edie is going to be a good NBA player if he gets right. Development, he'll be special. Seeing him up close, he has a great touch around the rim. Yeah, I mean, I saw from the NCAA tournament, I just know, like, he's not a stiff, like you said, he's got touch around the basket. That's the first thing. Whenever you look at like a 7'4" guy that can't move very well, he moves well for his size, but you know what I mean. He doesn't move like an athletic big. But anytime, you've got the size and you've got a touch, I think there's a lot to work with. I think with Edie right now, though, he's going to be a backup. He'd have to really grow the shooting. I think to become a starter in his, let's say, his sophomore season or his third or fourth season. I guess it just depends on what team he goes to as well. Also with Edie, as I said before, you got to construct your roster to his situation a little bit more. Like, for example, Edie's the 5, right? You better play an athletic 4 because you can't really have two bigs that can't move that well. That's just going to kill you. So whenever you are playing Edie, you're probably going to need like an OG Anunoby at the 4, right? You're going to need a Jaren Jackson. You're going to need somebody who, has got hops, who can move quickly as well. You can't really be playing Edie with Anthony Davis, in my opinion. I think it's probably a little bit too slow, a little bit too big. So yeah, that's what it's all about with the fit. I think with Edie. What's up, Dirty? Yeah, there's no box score from the friendly. It's not a closed door game, but yeah, there was no box score a part of the game. But Lithuania put up 92 points. He's the starting point guard, and a couple of great highlights of him. I'm gonna assume that he put up at least 10 to 15 points. There is a 3-minute highlight video where he did pick up a couple of assists as well. So I do know for a fact that he did rack up a couple of assists. One of them was on a nice drive and kick. One was out of the pick and roll as well. But this is what you kind of love to see because he keeps his dribble alive, you see here. But teams can't really sag off. He's a shooter. You know what I mean? He's not Rajon Rondo. He's not Ricky Rubio. Do you know what I mean? If you want to sag off, he'll shoot, and he can shoot. So that's a big tick, because any guy that can drive, if you play up on him, or he'll shoot it, with no hesitation. If you sag off, then that's perfect as well. See here, the guy's kind of, he reaches and he keeps the dribble alive. So if I'm ranking Rokus's skill sets in terms of what's his best skill set, probably his dribble, right? He's got a very solid handle. He's a lefty, you know what I mean? I mean, look at Jalen Brunson, one of the best handles in the business, and Rokus is not like that, but he'll keep his dribble going. Goran Dragic is a good comparison. He's playing against Dragic's team right now in Slovenia. And then probably the second skill set is probably, I'm not going to say shooting, maybe that's his third best skill set. His second best skill set's probably playmaking. Playmaking out of the pick and roll. He'll swing the pass off the dribble. He throws those kind of big wild, kicks and swings like a D'Angelo Russell with his left he likes to swing that around as well. And then maybe his third best skill set is shooting as well, but defensively he's not a liability, but he's not a defender. Like he's not locking you up or anything like that. But yeah, he's kind of a change of pace guard that we'll see. And as Dirty said, Rokus was a pretty good standout in the FIBA tournament. He had a really outstanding game, I know, shooting-wise as well. Basketball's all about situation too. Just the Barcelona situation hasn't worked out where it's at right now. He won the championship, but they like veterans as well over him. He could probably stay there to be a backup, but I think he wants to expand his horizons. D. Linder says, I like the Kansas boy, or 24, at 24, or if he's on the board. The Kansas boy, do you mean Furphy? Furphy or Kevin McCullough? Both of those guys are probably going to go in the top 40, but Furphy will go most likely. I'm going to say Furphy goes top 25. I don't think it's a lock that Johnny Furphy's going to go, in the teens, right? Because there's some other guys are slipping. Deron Holmes is rising, right? Pacome Dadier is rising. I got a feeling a team's going to take a swing on AJ Johnson, right? I think Zach Edey might be a guy that slides as well. I'm not buying that teams are clamoring to draft Edey in the top 10. We heard reports today that, I think Portland's eyeing him with something like pick 7. Yeah, Portland's got pick 7, right? You're not taking Zach Edey with pick 7, right? Unless there's some kind of trade back situation. Bub Carrington, I really buy that he'll be lottery now. He's just too versatile, too much upside. The youngest player in the draft as well. He might end up being, when it's all said and done, Bub Carrington might be that guy that we say was a top 5 pick in this draft, but he was just too young that people just, some teams just didn't take that swing on him, as well as AJ Johnson, super young, super raw. Pacome Dadier as well. You sort of see the clear cutoff between some of these upside guys that I think are going to go higher, and then some of these prospects that have been around with, a kind of a high floor, lower ceiling, maybe start to slip. Filipowski's one of them. Maybe we'll see with Collier, Edey, and all of that. But, Keyshawn George has got some big fans. He has to work on his finishing. I like the ball handling. A guy who grew a lot in height and had to adjust his game a little as well. But one thing I'm expecting, guys, is trades. There's going to be a whole day, whole night for the first round and a whole day for the second round as well. So teams are going to be getting busy, calling each other up and all of that. Darren says it's way too early for Edie. Yeah, I agree. I think Edie outside of the lottery, fine. Inside the lottery, you know, I think it's a bit of a reach. But obviously, some of these teams are just can throw, stuff against the wall, hope that it sticks. When you're talking about Portland, when you're talking about Utah, Detroit, I think there's less pressure on those organizations, really. I get it. If you're them, maybe you don't want to go so safe. You might just want to, take more of a risk. Dirty says Furphy's the first Aussie guy I'm not in love with. I'm just trying not to be too biased, that's all. Like, I am rooting for the kid, obviously. He's from the same city as me. He's a product out of the NBA Academy, Australia. It's just a real cool story because Furphy wasn't supposed to even be in this draft class, and then let alone he's sort of the last 12 to 18 months, his game just kind of, everything just shot up like it, just like it does with some people, in terms of physical game, all of that. But he has the potential to be anything from like a top 10 guy in this draft to anything but, I'm not going to say a bust. I think there's enough there to work with Furphy that he won't be a bust. He rebounds the ball really well, so he's not soft. He doesn't have that soft label. We already know he can shoot. That's just going to get better. Can he put the ball on the floor though? Can he do other things to stay in the NBA for a long time? We'll see, This isn't the worst thing in the world, but he might be like a Joe Ingles or a Dante Exum, where it's like, Ingles' story was like, played in Europe to begin his game, got to the NBA level, when he was 27, 28. Dante Exum, early NBA minutes, had to go to Europe, find his game back, and then end up back in the NBA. So it could be a bumpy road for Johnny Furphy. It depends on the team he ends up with as well, but I'm definitely rooting for him. I just haven't really seen him do much else other than shoot, cut, rebound. He doesn't put the ball on the floor yet. Doesn't move too well defensively. I know he will get stronger. He's just not a Joe Ingles type. He's a lot more of a Cam Johnson, which, is still very valuable in the league. A guy we haven't talked about that much, Baylor Shireman, right? The Knicks have worked him out. He was a part of the Ryan Dunn workout as well. So that's a good dime there. Shireman and Dunn in that same workout. There was some assuming other dudes. One thing we know, Baylor Shireman is one of the best shooters in this class, if not the best. Hit 81 threes out of 100 in a Boston Celtics workout, right? Boston, if I'm gonna check where Boston are picking. See, Boston have the 30th selection. He's a Boston kind of guy. If you're talking about your Houses, your Peyton Pritchards, all the shooters they've got, Baylor Shireman would be a Boston Celtics steal at pick 30. I don't think he'll be there. But if Boston are really looking at him, that tells you that he's going to fit their squad, right? A team that's already championship built and a team that, could do with another player that can play, make, and shoot off the bench. I think Baylor Shireman would be a very good fit with Milwaukee at 23. Hell, Phoenix Suns at 22, right? If they're flirting with Tyler Kolek, there's no way, in my opinion, you take Kolek ahead of Shireman if he's there at 22. Cleveland needs shooting, right? Isaac Okoro can't hit the backside of the barn, can't throw the ball in the ocean. Cleveland at pick 20, right? Tankathon's got them taking Kyle Filipowski. I don't see it. They need shooting. Looks like they're going to keep Donovan Mitchell. and they might trade one of those other guys. They need shooting as well. Orlando at 18 also needs some shooting as well, right? Philly at 16 is going to be fascinating. Really interested to see what they do. Nick Yak says, will we find out Wednesday? But I think size is needed around 15. We will find out Wednesday. I think the Knicks definitely need some extra size, but a lot of teams do. And I think this is a pretty good draft for bigs. I think it's kind of getting a little underrated about the bigs. Edie, Deron Holmes, Missy, Tyler Smith, Khalil Ware, and some of the other bigs as well in the second round, kind of ish. Malavai Leons, a guy who's very unheralded, not ranked at the moment. His 6'9" competition that he faced is the question mark. How the workouts went is going to be a big factor in terms of letting teams know how real Malavai Leons is, right? A sleeper as a two-way undrafted guy, I could see the Knicks doing that. Camp invite as well. I think that'd be cool. If I had to make a prediction, I think maybe a Jarrett Culver might come across as camp invite. His name seemed to be out there as part of the Knicks workout, free agent workout earlier in the summer as well. Dennis Jenkins, a local product. I could see him, if he's undrafted, making a two-way exhibit 10 deal. Maybe one of the guys out of Clemson, PJ Hall, and Gerard. There's going to be some dimes that I think will get undrafted. There's only 58 picks this year as well. I think we'll take two guys, Dirty as well, in 48 hours. It's coming up as well. And I think there's going to be some big news tomorrow. Today was huge in terms of some stuff getting leaked, some options needing to be decided on with Paul George as well. What's Paul George going to do, man? I saw him on ESPN kind of with, Joel Embiid, flirting with getting Paul George there as well. Rival fan bases trying to troll us over OG, declining the player option, even though everybody knew that was going to happen, right? There was nothing unexpected, right? OG Anunoby will have to turn down a bag if he's to leave New York, right? New York will offer the bag for OG Anunoby. And I don't see it happening. Philly, I think, are more likely to go for a PG. Maybe someone out of Miami might have to make some moves. Neymar says Knicks should trade for a big-time player. I think that's still the end goal. I just think they're a lot more selective now, in terms of who that guy is. We're a lot more patient because the Knicks are still in a very good position. Even if we ran it back, we're an Eastern Conference finalist type of team. But obviously we're trying to go better. We're trying to get further. And obviously the Knicks, what they've done is they've tried to improve every single season. Even if it is a mid-level exception or a trade mid-season or something. But the good thing is we have the draft, and we haven't had that the last two seasons, going back since we got Jalen Brunson and we made the draft night deal to trade Kemba Walker, Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, and all the second round picks, right? And now here we are. We're finally going to make a selection or two, maybe three. Maybe we'll do two, and we'll hope a guy gets undrafted. I think. Now the good thing is, right, with a draft with only 58 picks, right? Let's say we're about at pick 45, 48. There's a couple guys that we like. Maybe we say a little bit of like, hey, I want to go undrafted so I can go to where I want to go. That's what starts to happen a little bit. Because, hey, second round comes with an unguaranteed deal anyway. So what a better way than to go undrafted and to actually decide where you can go. You see, if you get drafted somewhere, you might just rot on the end of somebody's bench, and you have no, control over what you can do, right? Let's say Detroit take you or something. They've already got 30 young players that they're trying to develop, right? That's not going to be great for you. But let's say, a team with a real plan says to you, hey, go undrafted. We'll give you a two-way deal. You can link up with Westchester. You can come to the Knicks. You match day, a game day team, practice with the main team, and develop. And, if we need, you'll be our third big or something like that. You'll be our fourth point guard. So I think that's something that we could look out for as well. So yeah, in terms of the free agent news, right? I really feel like the Paul George thing, we explored that. I don't think he's our top target right now. I think our top target would be Mikal Bridges. I think we've checked in with Brooklyn. And then the other thing is more of a, just a starter level move, a double, until something else shakes out. That could be DeJounte Murray. It could be a guy like, let's say the Clippers, with Kawhi Leonard in another year or so. Devin Booker. Something in Phoenix shakes out. Something with the Bucks as well might shake out. I think as long as we make an improvement, I think the front office will be waiting to see, a better long-term fit, in terms of, that star name, right? Now, Paul George would help us, but, for the money and for the length of a deal, it's going to be tough. He's already getting on in age, and in terms of his game, right, the durability is the big concern for me, right? But good positive news on the Isaiah Hartenstein front, right? That is the talk that, the league expects Isaiah Hartenstein to come back to the Knicks for the $72 million, 4 years, 72. Give him the starting role, and then we see what happens with Mitch. I'll always be a Mitch fan. That doesn't change whether he gets traded or not. He's a very fine piece to have. But I think if the Knicks are, trying to shuffle the decks a little bit, I think obviously a team might be very interested and give us a worthy piece for a Mitch. And then the second thing is OG Anunoby, right? You give him the money, you bring him back, and you use the mid-level to improve the team right now, and you see how it looks, right? Let's say things aren't going as well as we hope. Then you might look at trading a Julius Randle mid-season. Every team gets desperate, throughout a regular season. Injuries happen. A lot more things might open up. But I think you got to make an addition with the draft, with the mid-level exception, and you also just see how the team looks, right? In terms of Boston, right, we saw how they look without KP. I'm not someone who believes Boston's unbeatable, right? Because they won this year, every season looks different. Tatum or Brown miss time. Porzingis misses time. They're a completely different team, just like we saw with the New York Knicks as well. Health, you got to be healthy at the right time, and I think Boston just caught. They got lucky this season in terms of their run, right? They were deserving to win, but they got pretty lucky, in terms of the first round, the second round, the third round, and then the NBA Finals, right? To face Dallas in the NBA Finals is very, very lucky. They avoided Minnesota, and they avoided Denver as well. So for Boston, they did what they needed to do. That's all I see it as. I don't think there's some juggernaut I don't see them as some dynasty. They'll be thereabouts, but there'll be other teams coming. I think Orlando's going to improve. You expect Philly to make an addition and be back around there as well. We'll see what happens with Milwaukee, right? But yeah, it's about the draft and it's about adding in free agency. I think with the mid-level exception, maybe shuffling a few pieces. But I'll be surprised if the Paul George thing pans out, right? I'll be surprised. I just think this front office is a little more cautious over these bigger moves now, and maybe they're waiting on the next guy. Dorkosaurus is Edie. Let's go. Dorkosaurus Rex. You're big on Edie. I've been noticing. Yeah, he's. I tell you what, man. Summer League. He's going to be one of my most keenly, anticipated, debuts in Summer League, or in first game of the preseason. Yeah, I'm just fascinated to see how he goes on the NBA floor. It's going to be a throwback to basically when I was growing up. When you had your Shaqs, Patrick Ewings, Alonzo Mourning. You had your big man that dominated the paint, right? And it's going to be a throwback to that. Yao Ming, Hakeem Olajuwon, the back to the basket, dump it down to me. I'm gonna post you up, and gobble up 20 rebounds as well. That's going to be a fun thing to look out for as well. And yeah, for all the talk, our next show will be a mock draft. But yeah, this is my first big board reveal. My general thoughts on this class, right, is that I think we'll look back in 5 or 10 years and say this was the most wide open draft we've ever seen, and that could mean that somebody in the 20s and 30s ends up being a top 3 player in this draft. I think it really has that potential, right? As you see, a lot of these guys aren't in green. A lot of these guys in, 1 to 10, I'm not super high on. I'm just not. Yeah, sure, could they have a very long, fruitful NBA career, but there's definitely no, clear star potential in my opinion. But then you look into these teens, you look into these weeds, into the 30s, the late 20s, second round. I think we're going to look back in many years and say, yeah, all of this was just smoke. You just trust your evaluations. It don't matter where somebody is ranked right now because it's all unproven. It's all potential, right now. But it's fun. It's a very wide open class, this one. I do buy into Alex Sarr having a long NBA career as like a quality starting big, a la Clint Capella. A guy who's gonna be around for a long time, very nimble. If he develops more offensive game, he can become an all-star. He can definitely become an all-star if he develops offensive game. Outside of that, there's not many sure things. It's all going to be about fit, potential, working out with work ethic. It's all going to be about their abilities to to adapt to the NBA game as well. Zach Edey, though, I do feel like he'll be around. I think he'll be around for a while, and again, fit's going to be huge with him. Do the Raptors take Edey? The hometown team at 19. Right, that could be one of the reasons the Knicks are looking to trade up. I don't know if Toronto are going to pass up Edey if he's there on the board as well. I really feel like Cleveland could be a sneaky team to take Edey at 20 as well. I don't see the Lakers at 17. I don't see Philly. Obviously, they've got Joel Embiid. Miami's got Bam Adebayo at 15. Portland at 14. that could be where the Edie watch starts for me. Pick number 14, right? The Kings have Sabonis. OKC already, words that they're looking for a complimentary big for a Chet at pick 12. Nick Yak says, how was Hartenstein against Embiid and Turner? Hartenstein had struggles against Joel Embiid, and against Turner. Turner did have some great performances as well. Yeah, so Hartenstein, yeah, he's definitely not the complete product, but he's more versatile than Mitch. I think if the Knicks do lose Mitch or trade him, they'll definitely need a solid defensive backup big as well. They might be looking at a Missy. They might be looking at Deron Holmes as well. They might buy into the fact that Ryan Dunn can play some five off the bench as well. John in the building from Still Knicks fans, salute. John says, I personally think Castle and Bub have the potential to be the best in this draft. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think Bub definitely, and I think Castle could be a top 5 best talent in this draft as well when it's all said and done. Reece Shea is just so much uncertainty for me. Buzelis the same. Even Ron Holland, who I do think just has a higher floor, that people are kind of overthinking it a little bit. I know the jump shot needs work, the athleticism, and the higher floor is there. I feel for Ron with that one. But yeah, this is going to be a class where we look back like 5 years and we'll be like, man, that guy was pick 34. He's a top 10 player in this draft. Or man, that guy was pick 29. What the hell? So yeah, it's been a lot of the combine. It's been a lot of workouts for teams to try to really compare these guys, I think. And that's where strategically some of these prospects have ducked group workouts to protect their stock, right? That's why you see maybe an Isaiah Crawford who's not really going to climb into the first round on consensus because nobody wants to work out against him. Kyle Filipowski, right? Really high floor, solid college season, but maybe his workouts aren't going so well and people are worried about his upside. He seems to be slipping a little. Baylor Scheinman's killing all the workouts. He's shooting lights out, and his stock is climbing up a bit more as well. For me, AJ Johnson is one of my biggest sleepers. I've got him 16 on my big board. That's higher than a lot of people. Some people might have him even higher, but he's definitely a very raw player, and you're just betting on upside. But if you look at a guy like a Kevin Porter Jr. type clone, Jalen Green, who's a close friend of his, they kind of work out together. Very similar games, really athletic, 6'5", lightning quick step, athleticism, and shooting and playmaking as well as rail thin needs to fill out a bit. The Knicks work it out. Jonathan Mogbo, he'd be a nice backup 4 spot, versatile, could put the ball on the floor and really really high engine, high motor with Mobo as well. So I like the fact that the Knicks have worked him out as well. That lets me know that the Knicks are maybe looking at a backup 4, maybe a guy with a bit more muscle, a bit more size as well, in case Precious maybe doesn't return. Obviously, I think that, Josh Hart is given honest feedback that he doesn't really want to be guarding, 4s anymore, and I don't blame him. Bogdanovic, who we don't know is going to come or go, but he's definitely not long term. Bojan Bogdanovic, even if he comes back, he's not a long term solution at the 4 either, the backup 4. So the Knicks with Ryan Dunn, maybe they're looking at that situation where he's also a guy that can plug that hole. definitely need size, and I think, I hope we just tick all the boxes. Get a big, get a wing, ideally a versatile wing that can play threes, fours, um, and then also some playmaking if possible. But if not, this guy, as we talked about, Rokus Jokubaitis, who's there. Still got to assume there's fans in the organization. The Knicks have his rights. It could just come down to money, right? There is that role for the Knicks now, I feel. Deuce is obviously clearly the backup first guard off the bench, first lead guard off the bench, but obviously there's room for another playmaker as well. Brunson gets injured, misses time, Deuce is the starter, and we need somebody else to come in. Playoffs, I think Indiana showed that, having Nemhard, having TJ McConnell, as many playmakers as possible is a good recipe, I think, for success. I think, you need more guys that can handle the rock. One thing that frustrated me the most in the Indiana series was, outside of all the troubles we had with the injuries and all of that, was just seeing Jalen Brunson labor up the court every single possession, and nobody was really, very, very rarely was somebody else bringing the ball up, or setting some good screens to free Brunson up. I think that really weighed on Jalen as well. I mean, obviously he had to carry the scoring load, but he also had to bring the ball up the court every single time off a full court press, basically, whether it was Nemhard or TJ hounding him, or even before that, in the series against Philly, it was Kelly Oubre picking up Brunson full court, and it was, we're getting into our offense with 10 seconds left or 14 seconds left on the shot clock by the time that the Knicks were getting into a set as well. And the longer you go in the playoffs, the more tired you get as well. And look, if we look at Boston, you gotta tip your cap to their roster construction, because they've got, to get Drew Holiday that fell into their lap, to get Derek White as well, two guards that can just bring the ball up, handle, and then you got Jaylen Brown and Tatum as well, right? So I think that's where the Knicks need to look at. OG's not a guy that's going to bring the ball up the floor, right? We need some more playmaking versatility. People say Alec Burks should have played more. I agree. I think Alec Burks definitely, should have played a little earlier, if just for some run off the bench. Play make a little bit, run the offense as well. And I think Rokus can do that for us, and we'll see if he comes, man. Lonnie, what's up? Can you see the Knicks trading Mitch and a pick or player for OKC's 13 pick? Man, I think obviously OKC are looking for a backup big, so I think Mitch would tick that box. He can start for them as well. He could play next to Chet. OKC coming in with the 12th pick. I could see, OKC trying to make a move like that, short-term thing. They don't want to get into salary issues. I think OKC are looking for a 2-year deal. Mitch has only got 2 years left on his deal. Do I think it's likely? No, but could I see something like that playing out? Yeah, I think it's possible. Obviously, a lot of teams are talking to the Knicks about Mitch because they know, he could be had. Let's be honest. I think Ian Begley worded it very well. It's not like the Knicks are shopping Mitch, trying to say, here, take him. They're not doing that. They're simply just trying to upgrade the roster at other areas, and maybe Mitch is a casualty. That's just what happens sometimes. You got to lose a depth piece to fill another spot. Maybe we sign another veterans backup big as well, who might be a little bit more durable, but not as good as Mitch. See, Mitch is a starting quality big. The problem is he's on a very good contract. He's enticing for other teams to be interested in. but he can't stay healthy. And I think, the Knicks have got a tough decision to make, right? If we're trying to shed salary to improve other areas, there's only so many spots we can really play with, right? You're not moving Josh Hart. You're not trading DiVincenzo, right? You've got the Bogdanovic piece, Julius Randle, who's a huge piece and not easily moved unless it's a superstar or something like that. And then you've got Mitch. So it's very, very understandable why Mitch is coming up in conversations. It's just the money, the dollars make sense, right? The NBA is really a business. Firstly, it's not personal. It's not, in this case, sometimes it can be personal where a player is a discontent in the locker room or they ask out. But with Mitch, it's just simply maybe a fresh change of scenery is good for both sides, in terms of the money and in terms of filling other areas as well. And I think the Knicks will be trying to get a Edie, Khalil Ware, Deron Holmes. Right, I'm pretty confident the Knicks will be trying to look at one of these bigs, or they'll feel like Ryan Dunn can play some backup big as well as a very, very athletic, combo wing, 3, 4, 5 man, 6'9", very athletic. Nick Yax is done at the 5, not as with so many bigs coming, is not better than a Mitch. Either is Hartenstein. Yeah, it's definitely he's not better than Mitch. It's makeshift. But as I said, I think the Knicks might be looking to fill other areas. We'll see. You see a package deal with Bogey and Mitch is more enticing for teams. If you're just trading Bogey salary and trying to get something meaningful, for draft picks, right? You're not really getting enough salary to get back something big as well. But look, we'll see. I'm really on the fence. Like, I'm not someone that wants to see Mitch leave. But like I said, I can see why that he's coming up, in conversations too. He's a very valuable player. And most of the time, if you're in trade discussions, it means somebody else, is interested in you. It's not, people always look at it like the team that's trading you wants to get rid of you. But it's also the other way. Some teams are interested in getting you too. And as I go back to dollars, got to make sense. We're about to pay Hartenstein, $72 million. There's only so much money you can tie up in a center rotation, the way the NBA is going. And I think if we get a rookie big or a cheap free agent big, that offsets the money that you're about to pay Isaiah, in terms of paying Isaiah Hartenstein the 72 mil as well. And look, I'm happy for Mitch because he got his bag. Mitch was a second round pick, and I had to go through, you had to work his way up to get to a starting situation where he is in the Knicks, and getting $52 million over 4 seasons. He got that security right now. I think there's every bit of a chance Mitch stays, right? If the Knicks don't like the deal and they can find, improvements somewhere else, there's still a good chance that Mitch can stay. But I think, the money descending is very enticing as well for teams. 14 mil this upcoming season for Mitch. The season after that, he's going to be earning 12.9, which is basically the mid-level. Well, it'll be less than the mid-level by the time 2 more seasons roll around as well. So that's where it's at, fam. And great late night stream. Appreciate everyone for rocking out with us as well. We've got 84 people live in the chat. Please smash that like button. The streets are buzzing as well. Our next show will be a real mock draft, man, as we went through our big board today, talked about the latest news of the Knicks. The Knicks have made advances in their ability to trade up into the teens, right? So that means that basically there's a wink-wink kind of a deal with some teams in the teens, right? Let's say we need to call you on draft night to execute this deal, and we'll give you pick 25, and we'll give you pick 38, and we'll take your pick in the teens. So that's a very real possibility now, according to Jake Fisher of Yahoo. The Utah Jazz as well are sniffing around, like Danny Ainge does like to sniff around and see what he can do. I mentioned the Jazz as a team that just, they've got the flexibility to just do anything, right? They're not under any kind of pressure to make something happen, right? They can literally throw mud against the wall and see if it sticks. But the Knicks have got more of a calculated plan, right, in mind. And I think if they do move up, it'll be to get Ryan Dunn or a Zach Edey or another big. I can't really see the need to move up for anyone else, right? Just take where we're at. Because we're not really offloading a pick. According to this, we would move 25 and 38 and get a pick in the teens and still keep pick 24 as well. So that would still have us selecting 2 first-round talents as well. Hey, Tibbs has kind of, made some strides in terms of his openness to, to working with some, drafted prospects that may be a little more ready, but still rookies. He saw Quentin Grimes being capable of helping early. He saw Deuce McBride as well. Don't forget, Mitch came in his first season. He was, he was playable. Was Mitch right from the summer league? Mitch was blocking shots. You knew what you were getting. I think more than anything, Tibbs just needs to know what he's getting to play you, whether that is Dunn, who can switch on the perimeter and block shots from the help side. Whether he can lock you down on the perimeter as well and get 4 stocks per game with his wingspan. I think there's a pathway for 2 rookies to at least be in situational minutes for the Knicks and be good depth. Be a good third string kind of backup depth for that situation as well. And yeah, I think, look, Tibbs loves bigs. Let's be real, Michael. Tibbs loves rebounders and he loves bigs. So I'm going to assume that Tibbs likes Zach Edey. I'm going to assume he likes him. I'm going to assume he loves Ryan Dunn. I'm going to assume he likes Baylor Shireman. I'm going to assume he'd be open to Khalil Ware, and I'm going to assume he would love Deron Holmes as well. All of these names are climbing, fam, and I won't be surprised if the Knicks do have a plan A or B to move up for a guy that they want as well. Because look, there's no point selecting at 24 or 25 if there's no guy that they really want. It's either move back or move up. We're sitting on all these picks. We really can do whatever we want if we want to, if we make it, worth, somebody's while to get up, and get someone that we really want, right? Let's say all these dudes that we want go 18, 19, and 20, and then we get to 24 and there's somebody we don't really want. Then it's a move down situation all over again as well. So according to Yahoo, the Knicks have that contingency where if somebody is there at, in the teens and we're worried about them slipping, we might be able to get them. We might be able to get up and grab them, man. I think that's just got to be a wing or a big in the first round, and then we could take a flyer in the second round if we do end up picking again. But that is that, ladies and gentlemen, as we've been rocking out on this Monday night, fam. It's early Tuesday morning right now, and it's going to be a big week, man. We'll be live tomorrow again if some big news shakes out, which I think it will. I think there will be some more buzz coming out, but in another day's time, Rokus will also play again against Slovenia. Luka might end up playing in that game as well, so that'll be cool to see what else Rokus has got in his bag, man. As he flashed the pull-up J off the dribble in this one and crossed him up, getting to the cup and finishing with the contact. Rokus Jokubaitis, man. He could be better than any point guard in this draft. Let's keep it a buck. He's got experience as well. It would save us from using a pick. Let's see what happens with that situation as well. But thanks everyone for rocking out. Salute to you. Hope you're well. Smash that like button. And we'll either be live tomorrow or the day after as well. Ready for the draft, ladies and gentlemen. Free agency buzzing. Peace.